Hey, this is Dottie and Tina from the Paper Toll Institute, and we're going to talk to you about our online class. This owl is the print that will be in the September class. So the print itself is not an 8 by 10. It is a 9 wide by 11 long. Okay, so if you're going to put this in a 9 by 12, that's fine, but you're going to have to cut a back. You're going to have to put a mat at the back of the print, which comes just to the white edges. You're going to have to get a beige colored mat that will be 9 by 12 on the outside perimeters and will come to the edge of the white on the inside perimeter. Your other alternative is, well, there's multiple ones. If you're going to cut it to fit an 8 by 10 frame, you have to be careful because the corner of your window comes all the way to the top of the margins on the print. If you cut this print back to an 8 by 10, it will be cut at the end of the white, where the white joins the beige, and that will be an 8 by 10, which is basically just this section of it. Okay, you're going to lose the white borders to do that. But when you do that, if you notice, your window comes almost to the very top. What you have to remember is when you put this in a shadow box, there is a recess cut in the frame that your print will slide into, and that's called a rabbit, R-A-B-I-T. And your rabbit normally is 1/4 of an inch. And so when you drop this into the rabbit at the back of the frame, 1/4 of an inch of this is going to go inside the rabbit. So the corner of your window is going to be in the rabbit. Okay, which is not a huge deal. It's just that you need to be aware that this open area that will be inside your recess will be inside the frame. You will not see it. It will drop into the rabbit. Now, for those of you who are unfamiliar with frame construction, this is a shadow box frame. Okay, this has a profile that goes out. So it is narrower at the glass than it is at the back. And these are the frames that we sell on the website. And these are hardwood frames. The back portion of this, the rabbit, is this little recess right here that your art drops down into. Okay? On these frames, the back hole here is an 8 3/4 by 10 3/4. So if you're going to cut this print to fit this frame, you're basically going to cut an 1/8 of an inch off all the way around, and then it will fit into the rabbit evenly. We can talk a little bit about frame sizing and holes and art. If you're going to cut a mat or you're going to cut a print, it works the same way. Okay, my print is 9 by 11. Okay, my rabbit inside my frame is 8 3/4 by 10 3/4. You subtract these numbers from one another and you get 1/4 of an inch. That means that this frame has, if I cut it to these sizes, I have to cut off basically 1/4 of an inch, but that's for the two sides. Okay, because it's going to be 8 3/4 across, so that means it needs to be 1/4 of an inch narrower going across. Because I have a right and a left side, you have to divide this by 2, which gives you an 1/8 of an inch. And that works because it's going to be 1/4 of an inch smaller. So like if we put the print up here, I need to cut off an 1/8 of an inch on all 4 sides, because my print is basically 1/4 of an inch bigger than the hole it's going to go into for the frames that we have. And this will vary depending on the frame you choose. So it's not a bad idea to pick your frame before you decide how you're going to cut your print. Unless you're going to go larger. And if you're going to go larger, then you're fine, because you will always have a back mat. So if I cut all 4 sides off of this, we already cut a piece of foam core to match the holes. So if I cut my 1/4 inch off, this goes into the back of my frame. And this is what we're going to use for the recess. So if I cut 1/4 of an inch off of my print, then I can put that onto this piece of foam core, which is going to be my recessing board. Okay, so let me, if you're going to do art, if you're going to do paper towel, I would suggest a couple of things. One, buy a paper cutter, for Pete's sakes. They're not that expensive. They cut a straight line all the time, every time. Buy a utility knife. You cannot cut foam core with an X-Acto knife. Well, you can, but it gets all wiggly and higgly, and it won't go through the foam core on 1 or 2 passes. You'll have to make multiple passes, which will make it a jagged edge. And the other thing you should do is buy yourself a ruler that has cork on the back. This one does not. If you have a wooden ruler and don't want to buy another ruler, buy yourself a little piece of cork at Hobby Lobby and glue it onto the back, because when you put that down, it won't slide on your surface, which is important when you're trying to cut something straight like foam core. Okay, so I'm going to cut this so that, I'm going to cut the print so that it will match our board, so that we can talk to you about recessing the print.